All right, so hello again, everyone. As Jeff mentioned earlier, this is the 10th anniversary of DevOps Days DC. And so what I wanted to do was a little retrospective on what's happened over the last decade, a decade with DevOps Days DC. And I don't want to do that alone. So I've invited any current and former organizers to join me, and we'll have a little discussion about that. So if that's you, come on up. Even if you didn't volunteer, even if you didn't know this was happening until today. Jeff, let's get a really quick picture here on stage with the great costumes. Yes. All right. Pants are not optional. Awesome. No, not optional. Not optional. Amazing pants are not optional. Yes. All right. All right. Very good. So what I'd love to do is just start with introductions, and I'm going to pass. David, you've got a mic. I'll send one down that way, and we'll just go back and forth. And what I'd like you to do is you introduce yourself. Let us know what was the first DevOps Days DC that you attended? What was your role there? And is there anything significant that pops out from that first DevOps Days DC experience? And David, since you're on the end there, you get to go first. Well, you're going to go second.
My first one, I don't remember my first one, to be honest. I think it was 5-7 years ago. I didn't attend, but I was, I attended, but I was an organizer. I volunteered because I knew some of the folks here, and DevOps Days, or DevOps in general, is a thing. I like the idea of the culture.
Hello, I'm Camille Clayton. My first DevOps Days DC was giving an Ignite talk in 2017 over at the Capital One building. I've spoken at another one and been to more than a few. And these great folks have been a joy to work with.
I'm Matt Cassio. I first attended 3 years ago, at least my third one. Is this story time now, or is there a chance for stories later? So I work at American Red Cross, and I've hosted another event which happened yesterday called KCD Washington, D.C. This was the 5th year. And after the 2nd year, we were across town, or across President's Park here at a restaurant called Proper 21, having our evening reception. And there was another fun group having their reception. And somehow after some of the crowd left, we started to merge and blend. And I was like, these people are fun. And it turns out that DevOps Days DC was having their social hour at the same place at the same time. And we started talking, and eventually we said, we should just do this together. And so this is the 3rd year now that we've had a co-located event here at Red Cross. It's been great. My involvement started because of the people, and it is continuing because of the people. And you are part of the people, the reason why we're here, and it's just been enjoyable to have time together.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm James Martin. I was one of the inaugural members along with Nathen 10 years ago. I think we first was at the Patent and Trade Office. Is that right? Yeah. What do I remember most? I think we did Ignite karaoke that first year, and getting that slide deck together and seeing people do Ignite karaoke for the first time was probably one of my favorite experiences. Oh yeah, so Ignite karaoke, very much like the Ignite format you see, but the people who get on stage have no idea what the slides are. They're going to come up and basically have to improv their presentation.
We'll be doing that tomorrow.
All right.
Jeff? I think I'm up. All right. Hey, I'm Jeff. I was also part of the inaugural DevOps Days DC event back in 2015 at the Patent and Trademark Office. I was also an organizer. I was handling registration. So if you registered for that event, or had a question about registration for that event, or had a problem with registration for that event, I was probably on the receiving end of any of that. By the way, if anybody met Patrick Goodwin downstairs in the registration desk, just give him some love, because he took my role. So the thing that I probably took away from that event the most was the community part of this. For those of you who have been in this community for any length of time, it's pretty special. There's a lot of sharing, there's a lot of caring, there's a lot of help when you need it, and there's a lot of really, really good people who are here, good human beings, and it's an energizing place to be. So I keep coming back.
Awesome. All right. Applaud that.
Hi, everybody. My name's Joey. My first DevOps Days was 2019 at the Ronald Reagan building. I was just an attendee that year. I remember distinctly, it was my first time going to a software conference as like a professional software person. And I worked at an organization that at the time was kind of just getting into DevOps and Agile and things like that. And so it was very eye-opening for me to go to a software conference where everybody there had some experience or knowledge of that space. So it kind of felt like, oh, like I am actually doing these like bleeding edge things and like doing things that industry is doing. So I felt I felt a sense of belonging at that event that has really carried with me as part of DevOps Days experience. So yeah, I also volunteered last year. I've attended every one except for 2021. I don't think I attended the virtual one, but first time organizer, and it's been an absolute pleasure to work with everyone who's on stage here and some who aren't. So thank you.
That's awesome. All right. And hi, I'm Nathan. Just a quick show of hands, because that's what I like to do. How many of you, this is your first time at a DevOps Days DC? All right, that's awesome. A big round of applause there. Yeah. I always feel that it's one of the best ways to welcome newcomers is to single them out. So thanks for doing that. But I helped found the very first DevOps Days DC, and as we were coming together as an organizing committee, I think very few people on the committee, as we first held our first meeting, had ever been to a DevOps Days. A lot of us had been to, say, the DevOps DC meetup, and that's kind of how we got to know and meet one another, but a lot of us had never been to a DevOps. Had you been to a DevOps Days before? No. So my strongest memory from that, I had been to a few DevOps Days before, and so I was kind of going over sort of the logistics of a DevOps Day. Like, it's a single track conference. Wait, but Nathan, this is DC. We've got public sector folks and we've got, people in the private sector. Should we maybe think about 2 tracks? And I said, well, it's DevOps, so maybe we should have a dev track and an ops track. Like, no, that doesn't make sense. It's a single track for a reason. The beauty of a single track is that we all have a shared experience, and you're going to show up for a talk that you might not have selected if you were given a different opportunity. And I love that that's just proven out year after year as we've continued to do this.
Hi, I'm Deanna. Unlike the rest of these show-offs, my first DevOps Days DC was 2022, so I am a relative newcomer. It was also the first conference I spoke at. So I want to thank the DevOps DC people for allowing a complete newbie to come in and talk to everybody, which is rather freaky, honestly. I have since been to DevOps Days in Baltimore, DC, and Des Moines, Iowa. Believe it or not, Des Moines' a beautiful city. I'm just going to lay it out there. Okay, don't go in winter. But anyway, I was so excited by the energy and the crowd of the people and just how welcoming they were that when Jeff asked if anyone wanted to sign up to be an organizer for the next year, I volunteered. And so this is my third DevOps Days DC that I have been an organizer for.
That's awesome. Here for Deanna. So one of the things, you mentioned that the first one you came to, you were a speaker at. We've had, within DevOps Days DC, we've had a couple of guidelines that we try to follow. One guideline that we've tried to follow from the beginning was that the conference itself should be kind of metro accessible, or at least public transportation accessible within DC. And so we started at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. They were our host for 3 different years. They were actually an amazing host because you think of a government building, the first thing you think of is you've got to go through security. And logistically, we can't put everyone through a security check. And the beautiful thing about the PTO is that they do have a huge, open, welcoming facility that people can just come in. You don't have to go through any checks or anything like that. Also, like, they've got up a bunch of really cool tech stuff around patents that have been created there. That's super cool. We should come back, huh? All right. Well, we just got the invite. So we also have had a guideline that we want the speakers from DevOps Days DC generally to live or work within 100 miles of the district. A lot of conferences will fly in well-known speakers to try to get a draw for an audience. And I think with us, certainly with myself, and I think I speak for everyone here, we know that there are rock stars right here in DC. Like, there are people that are doing this stuff right here that really matter. And we want to connect those people. We don't have to go elsewhere to find amazing work that's happening. And so I think that that's really held true. Along those lines, we won't each have a time to answer this, but anyone have a thought, a memory, a story of how you've seen sort of this community evolve or change over the 10 years? We lean into awkward silences. Like, that's always been a thing. Go ahead, James.
There we go. I think, obviously, to anyone who's been here for 10 years, we've seen the size of the attendance get smaller, right? So that is a thing. But I think that might go to show that maybe these practices are just more adopted, right? And there's less people who are onboarding at any given time to DevOps and more modern development practices. So it's one thing that I noticed. Yeah.
That's cool. Anyone else? Yeah, Jeff.
I'll just riff off of that. Something that I just reflected on. If we go back probably 10 years, I remember the heated debates online, in person, to this question: what is DevOps? Does everyone remember those? Like, DevOps is a movement. It can't be defined. I'm like, come on. Okay. All right. There was all of it. It's dev and ops working together. No, it's about everybody under the tent. Now it's not just about dev and ops anymore. Now you go back to, I think it was 2017, 2016. I think it was 16 maybe. Your talk with the Ignite talk. Go look it up. Digital archaeology, if you can find that. But that conversation, I can't remember the last time somebody says, what's the definition of DevOps? It's now just, I think, mostly how we work. Yes, we can always get better. And that's sort of the new vocabulary that we're talking about: improvement, getting better at getting better, and less the sort of the vocabulary debates.
I'd like to just share, I think, my perspective on how things haven't changed, in the sense that the content at this event and yesterday's event as well, I feel, is very well chosen to avoid cliches. Like, it's not too much about the latest trend. It's very practical advice and experience from people in their jobs and from their experience trying to solve sort of problems that are fundamental to everybody. And I appreciate that. We try to, I think, learn and share as much as possible on solving practical problems. And I think this conference does a nice job of that without getting into the latest cliche and trend. I don't see a ton of like AI this, AI that, right? It's real problems for real people. So I appreciate that. And I think that's been consistent since I've been involved.
Yeah, that is actually one of the things I like these conferences, I like so much about these conferences, is that you're not going to, like some of the other conferences you go and you hear product pitches from somebody on stage. Not, but we love our sponsors. Product pitches from sponsors is great, but when you get product pitches from people who are talking about their product and incorporated into the presentation, it feels like you're at some kind of marketing event. And this is the anti-marketing event, which is a great theme of these DevOps Days conferences.
I will say another thing about not specifically DevOps Days DC, although I'm sure all of you have experienced this. The first DevOps Days I went to was also the first time I experienced open spaces. And actually, that first DevOps Days followed a conference that O'Reilly used to run called the Velocity Conference. So I'd basically spent 3 days at a big tech conference, and it was awesome. I was super energized. But at the end of the 3 days, I was kind of tired. And then I went to this DevOps Days, and they got up on the stage and they described what was going to happen in open spaces. And it felt like I was going to go from being a consumer to being like someone driving the content and like driving the conversation, because that's what it is. And I will be honest, while I sat there exhausted from 3 days of tech conferencing, I thought there is one thing I don't want to do right now, and it's exactly what they're describing up there. I do not want to do that, and I don't think it will work. But what I've discovered was that I actually don't want to go to a conference or have a large group meeting without at least some component of that, because it really allows us to, as a community, decide what is the agenda. What are we going to talk about that's most urgent and most important to the people that are in the room right now? And to me, that has always been just such a strong part of what DevOps means and how these conferences run. I think that's super important. And I love watching the reactions or talking to people after they've been to their first 2 or 3 open spaces and understanding how powerful that can really be. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to chime on to what you were just saying, is that one thing that I have noticed, coming multiple years to DevOps Days, is I've noticed my own reflection on my experience. So I remember the first time I came to open spaces, similar reaction, like, oh no, I have to talk. I just want to be talked at today. I have to actually participate. So I was a little bit more of just a listener that first year. And then now that I'm a little bit more of a senior engineer at my company and a little bit more involved in things, like last year, I remember distinctly, I was much more involved in the conversations in several of the open spaces, and I had a much different interaction with people. I feel like reflecting on that now, it's almost like myself has come a long way along with this conference. So I think that is a great just continuation of what DevOps Days can do for the community.
Super cool. So Jeff, you are around, you've been around since the beginning as well. And, we're a decade in, but if I do the math, and I think I've already established I'm not good at math, 2015 and there's 11 years between when we started and now. So what happened?
Nothing. No, so everybody remembers March of 2020. Yeah. Okay. So this event stopped kind of just like the rest of the world for a year. And then we didn't want to go. In all seriousness, we had bigger concerns there that year. And there was a sense of profound disruption and uncertainty. And I don't think the community, we hadn't figured out, and it really wasn't safe to do an event like this at that time. And honestly speaking, I don't think any of us had the capacity to put it on. Like we were dealing with all of the stuff at work and especially at home, and all of the things. Our cognitive load was off the charts. So we said, nope, not this year. We'll see how this goes. And then when we got back to some capacity in there, where we could have some time and some mental energy to devote to it, it still wasn't completely safe to get a large group of people together. Remember super spreader? Remember that term? So we did something virtually. We did the next best option that we had, and that was, hey, let's still get the community back together again. And that's what we did in 2021.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, I know we're running low on time, and David, I think we have something else to share, maybe?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't know anything about this. I just heard there was something else.
Let's see. Oh, it's Holly.
Oh no.
Hold on. Audio.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. We're gonna. Okay. While we're just working that out, I think we're worked out. I don't have to say anything else.
It wouldn't be DevOps Days with at least some AV problems.
Yeah.
Hi, DevOpsDays DC. My name is Holly Bazemore. I am with Amazon Web Services, and I have been a part of our DevOps Days DC community for the last 10 years. I started originally as a participant and for a year, and then a year later I became an organizer, and for the last 6 years I've been an organizer and a co-host. I'm very sorry not to be with you this week, but or calls. I was asked to talk to you today about some of my favorite moments in DevOps Days DC or takeaways. When I first came to the DevOps Days DC community, it was the only place where we were seeing a mixture of public and private sector groups talking about DevOps in the area. And a lot of us at the time, I was on the private sector, came into the space thinking that we were on the cutting edge of everything. And I remember being at the Patent and Trade Office in Alexandria, Virginia, and listening to talks from some of their teams and others across public sector that showed me and the others that were in the room that there were a lot of areas of our public sector teams and groups that were way ahead of where we were. And it led to some wonderful open spaces conversations and outside of the conference, meetups and mentoring and long-lasting relationships, learning from each other along the way. In a lot of ways, they were paving the path for the rest of us in this area. And it's one of those things that to me is unique about the DC area where you get both public and private sector. I will tell you that the relationships that I have made through my attendance and participation with DevOps Days DC have stayed with me. Both from a being recruited, mentor, mentee standpoint, and so many valuable things that I've learned along the way from participants and speakers and everybody involved, but also to being able to walk down the street and have somebody say, "Hey, wait, did I meet you sometime? Were you at that DevOps Day conference?" And sitting down and talking to participants about what their favorite parts of the conference are. I will tell you, it's probably not a big secret. My favorite part of DevOps Days DC is the open spaces. I really love being able to sit down and talk to people from all sorts of different industries and see what challenges they're going through and have them help me with the challenges that I'm having. We have so much in common, regardless of what industry we're in, regardless of what position we hold inside that industry, from developer to intern to manager to executive. We're all struggling with a lot of the same things, and it's a really great way to connect. So I encourage you to connect more with the folks that are around you right now and continue on with the DevOps Days DC spirit as you go. Thanks for having me. Have a great conference.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that, we are just about at time, and I'm so happy that Holly mentioned the connections in the community and specifically the open spaces. So before I hand back the mic, I just want to close out to get you ready for the open spaces with a quote from one of my favorites, Rick Rubin. And Rick Rubin says, "If you're speaking or listening, either way, you're taking part of the conversation." So just hold that with you as we move into the open spaces. Thank you so much.